Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. It is 2016, and I am still Richard Lewis. I haven't had a personality change or a lobotomy, despite many recommendations to the contrary. This is the first edition of By the Numbers in CSGO, brought to you by Alphadraft in 2016. And with me, as always, is Duncan Thorin Shields, the world-leading CSGO analyst. Did you have a good New Year's celebration?
Yeah, I had a pretty good one, actually.
Care to divulge some details?
Went out to a drum and bass night in the capital. So actually, it's rare I go ham like that, but yeah, I had a pretty good time.
Drugs?
Is fun a drug, Rich? Because if so, I definitely indulged on that.
I indulged in some fun as well for my New Year. It was pretty rad. I went out to a party and then went to some lock-in in a sort of secret pub in Birmingham that has like a little. It's really weird. It's like an old man's pub in the front, which is great if you're old, and then it's like a weird chav rave thing in the back, which if you're a chav and you're like rave is also good. I'm not really making it sound like I had a good New Year's, really, but I did. But that might have been because of all of the fun.
What I don't understand is you tried to make it sound like it was some exclusive shit. Like, yeah, sort of like, you know, members.
No, God, no.
A lot of chavs there, raving.
No, but it's how it works is, it's exclusive in the sense you've got to be in the building, like when they lock it. So,
all right, true, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of exclusive. And you've got to know they're doing it. You got to know who to talk to, yeah?
It's the way he said you've got to know they're doing it and then tapped his nose. Doing what, Rich?
You got
your friend Charles was there, was he? Well, Charlie Barkley.
Yeah, old Charlie Barkley. Yeah. No, it was DJ Samo. More like DJ Samo coming at you hyper like a sniper, I believe.
I'm glad that ended Amor. There wasn't a B involved there.
But no, I'm glad you had a good New Year. I had a good New Year's, and I'm looking forward to 2016. Actually, I feel refreshed. I've had a few days off. It's been good for me. I haven't done any content. There hasn't really been a lot happening in esports. I mean, there's one big story. We'll get into that. But other than that, I've been nice and relaxed. What about you? You've still been pumping out content. You've even started a new show. What's it? Esports Salon. Can I just say, hands down, the most effeminate name you could have picked?
It's great, isn't
it? It's not great, mate.
Listen, I like to flirt with that, like homoerotic intellectual side, Richard, at all times, right up until it actually becomes gay sex. That's why I'm like, oh, I'm out. What even gave you the implication that I was involved in that?
So you're a cock tease, basically. You're an intellectual cock tease.
Yeah, to intellectual homosexuals.
You sound like Ice Cube now.
I know.
War and Peace. That is actually a rhyme, I think. But he says heterosexual, obviously. Anyway, so lots has been going on in esports. Not quite so much in CSGO. We'll dive straight into the news. Obviously, there hasn't been any tournaments or anything since we last did. Well, none that we're going to discuss since the last episode. But I guess I want to start with NIP. We'll start 2016 as we ended 2015, Thorin, where we're just going to absolutely rag on NIP. I mean, I'm not going to, but I've got a feeling you're going to.
Okay.
So the first thing is they elected to do this. When we've criticized teams for doing this before, you know, where it's like they announce one by one the players. Who's it going to be next? And it's someone who was already in the team. But what about the next? Someone who's already in the team. And what about now? It's somebody who's already in the team. And I couldn't believe they actually felt the need to sort of drag it out. I think actually the news story would have had a lot more impact if they'd said the core four of NIP were just re-signing for another year. Because that would have been just so shocking in its own right after everything that happened in 2015. I think if you just drop that bombshell, we're keeping the core four. They've re-signed their contract. And we're going to announce a fifth real soon. I think that gains way more attention than this sort of slow drip feed. And I don't know why teams are doing this all of a sudden, but it was really underwhelming. Like by the time you see, it's Forest, wonder what's happening here. You know, it kind of really had sort of lost some of its charm. So I guess first question to you is, what did you think of the way that they announce this information? And then second of all, what do you think about NIP retaining this core player after it was so speculated? And indeed, I believe they'd even alluded to it themselves that they were going to leave at the end of 2015, start of 2016, and were looking for new opportunities, be it individually or with a new organization.
Yeah, I actually think they believe. Here's the funny thing: people always do this online as well, where if something's really lame and the way it's done is like it's kind of crass, people are like, yeah, but it will get lots of hits and lots of make a lot of ad revenue and all of that. People don't know about the industry. I guarantee you, the way they dragged it out got them way less hits. Doing 6 posts in that fashion where you knew what was coming and you almost ignored half of it waiting for the interesting part to come, than if they'd done 3 posts and they went like this. You ready? Post 1. NIP keeps the original 4 players. And you can even build that as like, these are the 4 players that built the franchise. They were the 87-0 players. They made it all the majors, blah, blah, blah. You use that one to big up your history. Post 2. Pit is the new player. Pyth, whatever you're going to call it. The new player. Oh my God, out of nowhere, this big move comes in, all the hype around that. And here's the best one. You don't tell people there's 6 announcements. The third one comes in. Everyone thought they've seen all the announcements. Threats coming in as the coach. We're going to fix things strategically. You do it that way. You have 3 massive posts there that all have a huge impact in a totally different respect and in different eras of like your team. And then if you do that, you actually win the like promotion game. Instead, like you said, they just dragged it out. And what happened was, as soon as they named the first couple, you were like, well, that means at least 2 of the ones that are coming, I want to ignore because I know who they're going to be. And by the way, they actually fucked it up. Like on the one where they were meant to say Freiburg, they accidentally said Forest in the news post.
Yeah,
and then edited it out 1 minute later. And then obviously somebody screenshotted it, as they always do. Because apparently everyone on the internet just goes on screenshotting everything they're seeing. Maybe it's like one of those paparazzis where it takes like 1,000 photos a second. Someone just has a mod like that on his browser, just screenshotting everything he does.
Yeah,
almost everything. Obviously, have an incognito mode.
Of course, people do it because they're fans that just love the scene and love the team, which is why they're always constantly trying to catch people out and fuck people over. Great fans, esports fans. I mean, just people on the internet in general. Really, they're great.
Yeah. Good guys.
Good guys. But I mean, I came in for some criticism. I'm sure you did as well by proxy. Because I'd obviously said that they were planning to move, and that was the case up until the point where Per Lillifelt left as CEO, and a new CEO was brought in, and they sat down and had talks about it. So I'll just clarify what happened here. I think people don't seem to realize that when you do real journalism, it can actually affect the landscape in which we all sort of, exist. That's how it works. So if you're doing throwaway garbage like, oh, what did you have for dinner, double lift? Obviously, that doesn't change anything, right? Like it's ephemeral. You watch it, you learn what they had for dinner, and that's that. You'll never revisit that interview. No great revelation has been made. But when you do investigative journalism and you find things there's usually repercussions for that, right? And what happened here was quite clearly after the NIP story and the being owed money and everything, went public, the CEO had meetings with the rest of the people that were funding it and funding the organization. And in doing so, other members of NIP started looking into these irregularities, found that there was more than substantiating evidence. And of course, we all know how it ended. Per Lillifelt is no longer part of NIP. Now, up until this point, I believe the players would have definitely looked, after themselves. I think Freiburg and Forest were a pairing. I think Exist had already held a few very light conversations with some other people in the scene. He was being linked in this other sort of Swedish Renegades team that might have had like Pronax and Devil Walk and Pit in it up until this point. And obviously Get Right had loads of options. World star player, right? He can go wherever he wants, do whatever he wants. World star, he can do whatever he wants. And
why do you keep saying world star like someone's gonna run in and suck a punch or something?
I'm hyping up this bit. Okay, I'm hyping up by saying world star. I saw it on a video.
Keep going.
So they could have all gone. I think they would have all gone their own way. But what happened was NIP took control of the situation, sat down, said, "This is fucked up. What's been happening, and we promise you it's never going to happen again, and we're going to make good on treating you the right way, and we're going to start by making sure all your money's paid up. That's been done, so I'm reliably informed. And we're also going to give you a pay rise increase. That's been done. I'm reliably informed. We've now got a channel of communication to this new CEO who's more attentive to your needs, and that's what's happened, I think. So I actually think, I could have just sat back, not written the story and been right, or I can write the story and do some good and be wrong. I mean, it's one of those weird situations. But I have no doubt in my mind they would have ultimately left had Per Liljefeldt still been part of the organization. I don't know if you agree with that.
Oh, I think it's almost certain they would have. I mean, to me, that's the weirdest part of the whole story, is that it's almost as though, I think Nip, it was touch and go. I think they waited till the very end to make that whole move, and they would have just lost their entire team and essentially died as an org, because who the fuck would they have gotten instead? Some terrible third tier team, and it would have been the end for Nip as a famous org. And they wouldn't have, I think the only team they'd have that'd be half decent is like the Dota team, and even that's not amazing. So it would have been the end of them as a premier org. So it's weird to me that they waited so long when obviously they could have potentially made this power move months earlier. I have to say, that's an area where when you ask me about the four of them staying together, or the other way around, Nip retaining those four, I think that's kind of I think that's terrible. I mean, that whole thing about how they're the reason why they were underperforming last year is because of all the problems in the organization. Well, again, like I said, when the guy, I mean, this is a fucking spoiler, by the way, but at the end of the Shawshank Redemption, when the guy crawls out of that 2-mile pipe of shit, he doesn't just go, the warden doesn't go, but I've got your new bed. He go, get me the fuck back up that pipe and get back up. He gets out of there. He's out. He's free. You don't go back to prison. Well, actually, the recidivism rate's pretty bad.
I was good.
But
turns out you might.
I know. But saying that, like I said, that whole excuse no longer holds any water. The notion that they were just playing badly because of the problems at the org. By the way, that never really worked anyway. I can think of tons of sports examples where a really great sportsman had like an asshole as a GM or an owner that just really interfered with stuff. But if you're a really good sportsman, it's your fucking job. And on your individual level, you're trying to be great. So you're still playing, you still have incredible things. You might not even be getting your value in the company, but you go, okay, there's something bigger than that. I'm trying to actually accomplish something I like. That excuse, it works on a low level, but it doesn't work on the highest level, when you're trying to be the best player, etc. So I think it's kind of lame from the NIP players to just stay with Nip in that sense, actually. Like, I mean, if you really believe in the team, I'd have gone elsewhere myself. Like, what's the whole thing? Fool me once. This is the third time you're going to be fooled, motherfucker, if you get wrecked now. I'd say I made that joke, Rich, when they announced the new CEO. I posted a picture of that guy out of The Force Awakens, and I put a picture of the new Nip CEO. I'm sure this one won't turn out to be.
It's true, though. It is true. It is true. But they have made some changes, and I guess we can talk about those. So Pit or Pyth, depending on how you pronounce it. Again, Swedish people tell me it is pronounced Pit. I just can't believe that. They've got no reason to lie, but I can't believe it. But he's come in, and I got to say, kind of an underwhelming pickup, in my opinion. Not to be disrespectful towards him. I know he has some ability, but he's never won me over, really. And, of course, we know he didn't really have the impact out in NA that a top-level player realistically should. He never really stood out quite as much as somebody that would belong in an IP. That level of player would. And I've got question marks about what he's going to get from being in this team, especially given historically, if you come in to NIP and your reputation is always going to be eclipsed by the other four, you're not going to get your primary roles. You're going to be the water carrier. You're going to be the person who has to fit in around the existing core four. So, I mean, this is a big move for him. And I kind of feel, first of all, I've got my doubts if he's up to the standard, but also I think he's almost being set up to fail a little bit here. He could be a convenient scapegoat 3 to 6 months from now.
Thing is, the problem here, and the problem that has always existed for the last year and a half when talking about NIP, is everyone wants to talk about NIP as though the context is they could still be the best team in the world. You notice I hopped off that train a long time ago. And so when I talk about NIP, it's realistic. It's like, okay, at the moment they're like 6th or 7th. And if they battle and things worked out, maybe they could be like the 5th best team. So within that world, maybe he can be okay. I still think it's going to be a downgrade to Alu. I can't see how you're going to be as good as Alu, especially because Alu was quite a consistent player. I also think that, because here's the thing, when I actually think now of Exist, and I think now of Freiburg, actually, Pith probably is at their level. That's where they are now in the world. They're not top players at their roles, so that's fine. The problem to me is it just doesn't make sense as a roster, because you had Get Right, you had Forest, first of all, star names, and also players that are still salvageable in terms of their skills. But really, if anything, you needed to bolster them with more skill, with new players who are new players potentially going to become top players, and you haven't done that in any way. You've kept old players who've well past their sell-by date, and you've got a player who never really expressed any potential, who just got to an okay level, just sat there forever. And here's the thing, okay, here's a real problem I have with the way NIP has recruited players. Okay, Alu's pickup was fine. The reason that was a weird pickup is because he's Finnish. He's not Swedish, and they'd kept a Swedish core the whole time. But as a player, it's true. In lesser teams, he had shown some talent, actually. He'd actually shown, like, I am a rising talent. The problem is the Makalele one, they got just because there was almost no one left. There was no one else who was like an obvious talent. And so as a result, NIP has never actually in CSGO recruited anyone who was a rising talent. It's never happened. Meanwhile, if you get into a team where, like I say, if fans are really still thinking NIP's a team that should be challenging for the best in the world, then why aren't we recruiting players who have shown that that's the next level they're ready to go to? In football, you don't just go to Division 3 and get a guy who's okay there and go, well, maybe he could turn out to be amazing in the Premiership. You get the guy in the Championship who's scoring 30 goals a season, and he's absolutely amazing, and he obviously would be better on a better team. Then you sign him to your Manchester United type team and go, right, this is the guy we're building the future around. At the moment, let's say it turns out that Pith, whatever he's called, turns out to be really good. Well, how am I supposed to give NIP that credit? How do they know that? Well, on what basis would they have had that information? They haven't got it. It'd be a gamble. So it's just a pure gamble to me to do this move. So I think it's a negative move overall. I mean, maybe it works in terms of they got the tactical aspect with threat, but that's a massive question mark in itself.
Do you think they missed out on any other options? Do you think they were limited, that Pitt got into NIP predicated on almost like dead man's shoes, no one else wanted the role?
I mean, it's like I've said on past shows, there's no team who've missed out on more options than NIP in the history of CSGO, because what's happened is they're always in denial. Like, they always think whatever level we're at now, we can be better. And history has shown it can't. Like, it goes gradually downhill. And so they've missed everyone. They missed Flusher and JW when Fnatic fell off. They missed Olafmeister. They missed Dennis. They missed. I mean, Twist didn't join. I'll give them that one. They couldn't do anything there. They threw Makalele out of the team. He's since gone on to accomplish more than them in the majors since then. Well, I guess with the first one they made the final. But you can see what I mean. The list is massive as to the players they didn't go. Like I said, as soon as they opened the door to getting Alu, like we're willing to try other people, Rain speaks fucking Swedish. Why was he never on the radar? Why was he never a possibility? Then this Jacob guy, here's someone who's an actual rising talent who was given a chance and did turn out to be fantastic. Guess what? NIP didn't get him. He's off playing another team. AZ literally has to go and not join the Danish team. He's not joining NIP. They've missed everyone, mate. It's at this point, it can make a bigger list of who they missed than who was on the shortlist that they could have got at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, again, where in terms of all of that talent, do we put Pitt? Because every name you've said there,
bottom of the list.
Yeah, exactly. I rate Pitt below them. So I mean, and again, I don't want to make this the hating on Pith show, because I don't think anyone deserves that. Just because, like, I'm sure he's not boasting and saying, hey, fuck it, I deserve to be in NIP. I deserve to be in the top team. I almost think he'll have been fucking surprised to have got the call. Like when they first reached out to him, I think he'll have been thinking, like, what the fuck haven't you been paying attention to what happened the last 6 months? I got fucking, like Alice Cooper, I was lost in America, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, don't you haven't you been following the news? Like, what, you gonna pick me up? So I think he'll have been surprised. So yeah, look, I mean, I think the jury's out. The one thing I will say is sometimes being an unknown quantity, it can work for you, and we have seen some ridiculous gambles kind of pay off. But I do feel overall he's a downgrade from Alu, and again, the list of players that they've missed out on is criminal. I mean, this might be controversial, you know, but like, is Pit better than Pimp?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So, you know, Pimp had to go into the revolving door of fucking SK. Bless him. Bless his malnourished heart. So, yeah, it's fucked up, man. But here's one thing that's good while we're talking about changes. They obviously bring Threat in as a coach, and not just as a coach. They have clarified subsequently that Threat is going to be the in-game leader, that he will be making all of the calls from behind the team. He will take over in-game leading duties from Exist or from Forest or whoever's been doing it for NIP in this weird kind of committee, but anyone but Freiburg, basically, setup that they've got. And he's going to be the de facto in-game leader, which I think if they stick to it and the players listen to him, that's got to be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, but that's the big question mark, if the players listen to him. Now, to a degree, they have to, because he's the actual in-game leader. That's a key distinction to make. He's not the coach. Yeah. The coach can tell you anything, and you can go in the game and do the opposite. If the guy at the beginning of the round tells you to do something and you don't listen, you'd assume that's going to either end up with him getting fired or you're going to get fired. Like that's got to reach your head at some point in time. Now, I will say, as an in-game leader, Threat is someone who he did allow like space for his star players, but not in any way in like an open system. Like you had space within the tactic of what you were going to do or within what tactic he would call. But he had like very defined set strats, and he would have like innovative flashes and smoke timings. So yeah, he could be fantastic in that sense. My only big question there is, like, I think he's a great addition, and this has to be tried. I mean, it's not highest on my priority. My priority would be get players in that can do what I need them to do. But if I have to keep this lineup, yes, this is the way to go to see if there's anything left in the tank. If there is, though, the problem is this is the most resistant team to a tactical style ever, and you're bringing something as a totally tactical in-game leader to lead them. So I can already see right there, that's not an obvious pairing. That's not an obvious marriage that's going to necessarily work. So that again has a lot of question marks over whether it actually will be successful, even though it does seem like the right move to make, because we know that them playing that loose style isn't working anymore. There's a long time since that was ever going to win them big tournaments.
What do you think Threat can do? What do you think he can implement into the team to get them closer to the level that their opponents who have gone way, way out in front tactically, have? I mean, do you think that Threat can? Is there anything he can do and get them doing things differently?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a video that'll come on this after the show, but basically, the key roles that I see that he has to change is he has to get right to do less like pure lurking. Like the problem with Get Right was he was such an exceptional player. He wasn't just the best lurker, he was the best player. Therefore, he could do anything he wanted to. So the problem is, I think he went too far with the lurking aspect. That only worked when you were the absolute god. Now, he's still a top player, but he's not even the best player anymore. So obviously he has to be more involved in the actual team structure, and he can't just permanently be lurking, because then it's like that thing I told you a while ago about Hiko. If you know, if you spot him on one side of the map, you know, oh, I wonder if they're coming to this site. Obviously not. He plays at the back, mate, trying to get all the lurk kills. So if it's too obvious like that, you telegraph it too much. That, in fact, that's the whole problem with the NIP style. It's so basic. For Forest, if we're going to leave Freiburg in the team, he has to be supported better. I mean, I don't think he's a very good entry frag at the moment, but he has to have the flashes and the smokes, etc., which means that within the system, we can't just have the old style of like Freiburg is just bait and then Forest runs in to bait him and get kills. That can't happen anymore because they're not even the best at doing that. So that won't work anymore. Forest then probably has to be part of the tactics, which historically Forest in all his teams has always gotten to not have to be part of them. It's someone else who throws the flash and smokes for him. He does very basic stuff and just aims on shooting heads. So he probably has to be involved a bit more. And then the last guy is Exist has to find a way. Now that he's not in any way the in-game leader, he has no excuses for anything except fragging now. He now has to be a quality fragger who within the tactic has a reasonable job. Not like too difficult a job for him to do, not one that's asking too little of him, so he's not contributing enough. They have to find exactly the right place within the system to put him, because he now has to make up the slack that they don't have from getting a start in pit spot. He has to add in the frags that's going to be enough with Get Right Forest to be a top team. Now, if all of that works, they could be a better team. Like maybe they could be a team that flirts with like fourth best in the world. Maybe they could become a team like a Virtus Pro who every now and then win a tournament. Maybe it's possible, but there's a lot of question marks here. You know, as I had to go like over half the roster has to change what they're doing to make this new style work. But it's not impossible.
I mean, I remember saying back at the start of 2015, I was like, if they keep Makalele, NIP will win the occasional tournament in 2015, and obviously they didn't, and they didn't. So the only way is up for them, especially with the high standard that they've sort of set themselves. What I'm worried about in all of this is I don't know if these players, like I know Bjorn, he's quite a chilled guy, you know. Like I can't see him really being authoritative and asserting dominance on those players if they disagree with something he's going to do. And equally, I can't see those players ever telling themselves, okay, this is what my instinct is telling me to do, but I'm going to listen to somebody else. Because these are players that have been the best in the world at what they do at various points in their career. Some of them, like Forrest and Get Right, for ridiculously prolonged periods of their career. So I can't see them. I mean, I don't think you can ever effectively coach NIP in the same way that, you know, equivalent in League of Legends is, you know, CLG. I don't think a coach can ever come in and, unless he's like a fucking drill sergeant, change the way those players think. That for me is what I'm worried about, or what I'd be worried about if I was an NIP fan.
No, I also think the same thing, because these are players who were so fantastic. They have just played on their instincts and what they want their style of play to be. It's like I said, I've said this on past shows as well. If NIP are okay, so we're not in the team, remember, Rich, so we can't know anything about what's going on in the team. They'll tell us that we're wrong. Every time we make a prediction that's correct, we were wrong because we didn't know the reasons we were wrong. So here's the problem. Where are the NIP telling us the real reasons? Ask them what the reasons are. You'll get the most pathetic, weak, measle-mouthed line of excuses you've ever heard in your life. I wasn't playing that well in this game. Oh, well, I just don't have the confidence right now to do this. Oh, yeah, we just didn't get proper practicing because we had 2 tournaments in a row. A million shit excuses that never explain why for a year and a half you underperformed. So to me, NIP had no clue what was wrong before. Now they've taken 2 gambles, get a totally random player and getting a tactical. Oh, I guess it's time to do tactics, guys. Like that. This isn't the to me, the pieces aren't there to suggest that they're ready for this. So
yeah,
who knows? It could work, but I don't put it this way. I don't know at what point in time they took LSD and had a life-changing psychedelic awareness of what all their problems were and changed their whole life. Seems like they didn't. Seems like they just thought, right, well, this is the last thing we haven't tried. Try that, I guess.
Why not?
It's like they're like someone who got to the end of the year, just finished eating all that Christmas dinner and was like, this year, got to lose a bit of weight. I'm getting a personal trainer. And they never go to half the fucking sessions with Enrique. Go to Zumba, you fat cunt.
All right, mate. But yeah, it's annoying because this is revisionist history now. Now that they've announced a new coach and the fact the coach is going to be an in-game leader, there's this revisionist history to Natu's time in the team. And obviously we work with Natu and we're friends with Natu. But I'll ask you straight off the bat. Now, a lot of people are saying, you know, oh, Natu was fucking useless. What does Natu know? Right? And that's the fan logic, as you might put it. And they're saying it'll definitely be different with Threat there. Natu could never be a successful coach, just in general. And that's why it didn't work out. Now, you know, whether people think he expresses himself in the perfect way during a broadcast, there's no doubt that Natu is like very fucking knowledgeable about the game. There's just no doubt about that. I mean, he's a veteran, and he's a veteran that isn't just one of those players who just turns up, pops heads, and goes to bed and doesn't think about it. But I mean, I got to ask you honestly. I mean, do you agree with that fan logic, or do you think that's fans again just talking out their ass because they want to get on the next hype train?
No, Natu never got a chance. They were never implementing any of the shit he wanted to do. Here's the funny thing. Nip's had 3 coaches now, guys. Yep. Remember when Peter was the coach and all the morons were like, oh, they won ESL World Clone. I wonder what role Peter played in that. Well, guess what? When he left the team in their well dodgy circumstances, nothing fucking changed. So that's great. Then you had Natu come along, Natu literally tried to do the things a coach would do: watch demos, change how you practice, change some strategies. They were resistant to all the things he was trying to implement. And then on top of that, remember that whole hype around, they're doing super sick in scrims before ESL1 Cologne. Yeah, supposedly they just did none of the shit they did in the scrims in the actual tournament. Now, that's not to go, wait a minute, oh my God, wait a minute, this changed everything. They just didn't do what they said. No, they were incapable, guys. What they did in practice, they just went, right, that's practice. Then in the real game, they were like, back to my old bullshit again. And then just went back and did the same shit again. Got their heads banged out in the round of 8. So to me, NIP's been the most uncoachable team in the history of CSGO. So that's why I see a problem. You've brought in literally, okay, this is no exaggeration, Rich. Of all the people in the history of CSGO that have been available who could be a coach, this is the best signing you could ever make. Because he's someone who actually was a legit, really good in-game leader.
Yeah,
and who now wants to be a coach. There are none of those. Existence doesn't give a fuck about that. Godby doesn't want to be a coach. He wants to play more. Sean Gez doesn't even want to do anything in CSGO in terms of the in-game anymore. All these guys who you want to do it don't want to do it. He actually wants to do it. So he's the best signing. Problem is, it's like you've taken a brilliant tactical coach who could lead a team that was open to it and give him the most uncoachable team and gone, well, have a go with that, mate. And like, I mean, like I say, the only way I could see this working is on the players' side of things. If the players have literally humbled themselves and gone, what we did doesn't work, what we know doesn't work, and it's not going to be successful. So we have to listen to what this guy says. And at the moment, I haven't got the indication yet that that's what's going to happen. Because like I said, every past conversation and interview you've seen with a NIP player, they've never, ever suggested that tactics was their problem. They've never once ever said, our tactical system's bad. It's not good enough. We need to improve that. They've never, it's always bullshit. Like, my aim wasn't on. They were playing a bit better. I wasn't feeling that great. You know, the first map started badly. Oh, we beat them in scrims. It's never tactics. So they don't, it's 2016, Rich, and we're having a conversation about whether a team should do tactics.
So what would happen if you add GB James to an IP?
Hopefully some sort of suicide pact. Listen, I think what would happen is he'd finally get that philosophy across that it's better to burn out than to fade away.
Definitely.
Highlander.
Absolutely. There can be only one. So other news that happened, I'll throw in a one that's not so important. Splyce obviously lost their team. I think we talked about that in the last show. They picked up a team called Dogmen, which is like Professor Chaos and Abe. Yeah. I mean, you've done, you know, the Splyce organization, formerly Follow Esports. What are they thinking here, Duncan?
I mean, it doesn't look like a particularly good team. I think that team had like some okay results online. Like, I think they were winning in that Road to Vegas qualifier or something, but it's obviously not a team that has much that you'd think would make them go far or whatever. But the main thing now in NA, you have to realize in CSGO is, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It sounds like the majority of the teams in the fucking E-League are going to be from North America. Brilliant. So as a result, everyone in NA who has an org of any kind in esports is scrambling to get 5 bodies that have a fucking pulse and an American passport so they can be in the E-League. So as a result, you're going to see tons of orgs pick up these lineups that aren't even that good just because they're like, maybe I can get into the E-League and get on television. And they might be right.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about this. We were going to bring it up at some point. But there was a post a while ago, about 2 weeks.
Yep. This is public knowledge as well. That's the thing. We're not saying this.
Yeah, from the Luminosity Gaming manager. This is where it all comes from. So the Luminosity Gaming team manager, who calls himself Dead, said on stream.
I wish he was the manager of Team Liquid. See what I did there?
That was edgy. He said that there was going to be 11 American teams and 4 European teams. That's what he said. Now, you know, I know a little bit about how this is all panning out. And I don't think that's actually been decided in any way, shape, or form. And the reason why there aren't going to be more European teams is that it seems that some of the other European teams and teams in this little team owners association, they're wanting to hold out and see what other exclusivity leagues, what other options are going to arrive in 2016, and they're kind of keeping their cards close to their chest. They don't want to necessarily commit to the Turner League if there's a better deal to be had by going exclusive with somebody else. That's the word on the cold streets of Counterstrike.
What fucking whores Counterstrike organizations are. They're like, if I'm going to take up the ass, it'll be for lobster and diamonds. I'm not going with this broke motherfucker over here. Like, you're supposed to be actually just playing in tournaments and stuff.
But I mean, this is, look, on the one hand, I can understand it. Organizations have to do what's best for themselves to be sustainable, to have a business here. But I mean, the money that was going to be generated from the Turner League and the sponsors that were going to come in, and just the opportunity, it's a stark contrast to the original early meetings where everybody was super enthusiastic about the idea. I don't think this is something Turner are pushing, frankly. I think Turner wanted a league with the best teams in it and the best organizations represented.
So we know that Turner's 2 seasons will have $2.4 million of prize money. But who gets prize money, Rich? Players get prize money. Now, who gets shady backroom dealings of cash from a fucking slush fund? Oh, organizations. So organizations are choosing to get their little pot of gold now at the beginning, rather than let their players win millions of dollars. Great, brilliant. Yeah, that'll be esports growth. Tell me more, esports industry insiders, about how this is sustainability and we're growing the industry organically and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's full of shit.
Yeah, but you have to understand in particular why the cash grab's important now. Okay, why these team owners are electing. I mean, I'm not saying they wouldn't anyway, but now that we've got real money coming into esports, as in billionaires, ex-sports stars. I've been talking about this for months. People thought I was mental when I said basketball players, former basketball players and former sports stars want to buy esports teams and esports organizations as an accessory. People said I was fucked in the head, as per usual. And lo and behold, here they are. I'm not just talking about your Rick Foxes. I mean, obviously, there's going to be more to come. And I think the current crop of team owners are a little bit upset because they were wealthy and they maybe got or get to be millionaires, but they can't compete with multimillionaires and billionaires. And they've got kind of one eye on the exit sign. Like, how do I cash the fuck out before I get blown the fuck out? Because if you want to try and compete with somebody that can come in with a bunch of venture capital and sink 1-2 million into starting up a new organization, offer salary and spending power that you can't with your endemic sponsors of like peripheral manufacturers and things like this. This is why Fnatic wanted to become a lifestyle brand and fucking ditched out on their sponsors to try and make their own hardware. Everyone's trying to get ahead. Like, they feel to stay in the game, we need to accelerate our growth and our development because the real players are here now. And the only thing we've got over them is knowledge and experience of the industry. So I'm not saying I abide it. I think it's deplorable, but I certainly understand it. Certainly understand why people might be inclined to do it that way. I don't know if you agree.
I just think it's full of shit. These are the same guys. Here's the worst thing. I'll tell everyone who's watching the show now. The worst thing about these fucks in esports is that it'd be one thing if they were politicians and they just said to the pleb public all this shit about, I've built this team for 10 years and I see a long future in this business. What's that? Someone wants to buy my team for 5 times more. I sell everything immediately. Goodbye. I go to the Bahamas now. It'd be one thing if they were like that in public. They do this shit to insiders as well. Like, they'll sit in a pub and go, no, I believe in the organic growth of the industry. And, I'm not one of these people who's just here today, gone tomorrow. And then the second it goes, oh, wait a minute, I'll sell it all immediately. Who's that? What's that? Some 7th string player from fucking the NHL wants to buy my whole franchise for next to nothing and ruin it all. Sure thing, mate. I mean, it's only my child that I said I'd raised and all that. They're just so full of shit. It's unreal. The biggest problem with esports, I've always said, Rich, is that the industry, especially teams, are all shit used car salesmen, and as a result, they all are waiting to just cash right out. None of them are proper businessmen who are trying to build something huge. Now, maybe a few have come in the latter few years, but the majority of those people are just people blagging it. And then when they see their payday, they just go hard for it and they're out.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, this is the sad reality that, you know, Turner have come in and they've really gone out of their way to accommodate all of the team owners. I think they've been super respectful. They asked for feedback from all of the team owners that were there. They said they wanted to create this geographically diverse league. That was one of the things they wanted to do, to build those storylines. They didn't necessarily want it to be all American.
Here's the fun thing. I've got a great analogy for you, okay? So there's a really funny episode of Seinfeld where what happens is George is trying to get this really great apartment that's just opened up, but because so many people want it, they make him have like a what happens is when he thinks he's gotten it, like he's got the person to promise he can have it, someone else comes along and they say that, I was part of a tragedy where I was on this ship that was sinking, so I should have the apartment instead. So they have like a tragedy off, and George and this guy try to go to the people, and they have a panel, like a board of people, and they have to convince them who had the worst life, you know. And at the end, George obviously wins out because he's had this like horrendous life where he's been fucked over. He's at like the bottom, the most low level at every stage, right? And at the end, the whole thing is, you think the joke is that he's won the apartment, but at the end, some other guy just gets it, and he goes, "What the fuck? How did you get it? Like, what happened to you? Is it because he was stabbed?" And he goes, "Nah, I just tipped the superintendent $50. What I've realized now is Turner's biggest problem is thinking this is a real industry and going, guys, we're going to create this big industry with millions of dollars of prize money. We're not going to ask you to be exclusive. We just want all the best teams to play in. And everyone's going, oh, yeah, great. How can we fuck these guys right up the ass? Instead, if they'd come in and said, right, first season, $200,000 prize money, and everyone's like, that's not that much money. And they were like, backroom deal, everyone gets 200 grand for being in it. They'd have all the top teams in. That's how fucking stupid esports is, Rich. It's not a sport.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I think it's disappointing. Look, I don't even think it's guaranteed yet. It would be like complete speculation on my part. I think there's a long way to go before the first season, and I certainly hope that it's going to change. But you know, it does seem strange that the Vegas qualifier, where were all the top teams at? You know, why didn't top teams enter in, like real top teams, like the top super elite teams? Why didn't they enter in that qualifier? I'd have wanted to, you know, go out to fucking Vegas and play a show match.
I mean, admittedly, it was a bad time of year to hold it. I will say that.
I mean, and that was one of the things that was communicated, that, you know, oh, we're all on vacation. I don't know, though. I wonder if there's like a little bit of a power play going on behind the scenes. Yeah. That's what I'm inclined to believe.
Could well be. You
know, and they're like, look, we're going to show you, this is what you end up with if you don't have us. And I know an ESL, you know, that I'm sure they'll come back and revisit the exclusivity league at some point in 2016, especially when you've got, you know, your Gfinities and PGLs and people like this sort of mobilizing to create this Grand Prix. Interesting how that's going to go now without MLG effectively being in existence. I think it's going to be something called AB Media now, because of the acquisition by Activision Blizzard, which was revealed by Esports Observer. We'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, the elephant in the room is that what should have been a relatively smooth transaction of Turner coming and saying, hey, want to play in this league? It's going to be on TV. You're going to be on before the fucking NBA. This is how big it's going to be. Just sign on the dotted line. We're going to help you out with some sponsors. You're going to keep all your endemic sponsors. It should have been a slam dunk. It should have been team owners just saying, yeah, all right then. You know, this is the kind of opportunity that even 2 years ago, people would have fucking killed for, like literally killed for in esports as well, probably.
It's like I say, though, everyone's so short-sighted that they're just like, let's figure out a way to fuck these guys.
Probably. And that's what I mean. So I want to make it clear that I don't think this has anything to do with Turner at all. I think this is team owners positioning themselves to get the best deal for themselves. And whoever pays for exclusivity is going to get these organizations. And I've got some big concerns with MTG lurking in the background as to how this is going to pan out.
You literally could not get a better mainstream league setup like this. So it's going to be on mainstream American television. They're going to give ridiculously over the odds prize money. They're going to fly you, all expenses paid, to live there, do all that. Yet even then, as I've revealed on a past show, the format is actually wicked, where you'll only be there for certain weeks, then you can go elsewhere and play other tournaments. They couldn't be more accommodating for a fucking on-site to offline league. And yet people aren't even going to give them the time of day. Also, they can get a little bit of money in 2016. Here's the thing, okay? Let me put it this way. If this goes ahead and there's barely any European teams, then in 4 years, when every single person who benefited with short-term money now has long since spent all that money on fucking iPads and hoverboards and whatever else the fuck people buy now, when that's all gone and you fucked it up and that massive league leaves esports as a sector, go fuck yourselves, because all you people who tell us that you were trying to build this as a real sport, you will be the ones who will have fucked it. And then when we're in this dystopian nightmare where ESL runs the whole fucking industry for CSGO, well, that'll be great, won't it?
And that's the thing, though. I mean, you know, you've got to be careful about who you're going to get in a bed with right now. And that isn't to say that getting into bed with ESL is necessarily a bad thing. But, I agree with you. I think if you want to grow the industry, you get into bed with people that are capable of growing things, as evidenced by a long history of growing things. This is fucking the Turner Network. Remember when WCW used to shit all over the WWF? Do you remember that?
Yep.
It was unreal, wasn't it? And Ted Turner only did that because he didn't fucking like the McMahons. You know, he made this amazing fucking broadcast. Used to just didn't give a fuck as well. Edgy as a motherfucker. Proto Thorins used to read the results of the fucking WWF games live on WCW broadcasts, so you didn't have to watch them
because it's pre-recorded. Yeah,
because it was pre-recorded. Used to fucking get the dirt sheets out. These guys were fucking legends. So they've done it, you know, and they did it with basketball as well.
Put it this way. If RC Fnatic isn't in this league and then they cry at all next year, I'll run in and fucking diamond cut a flasher through a table. I don't give a fuck, man.
But yeah, so I mean, look, I'm just hoping that after Vegas, everyone gets that feel-good factor back. I'm pretty sure the Vegas event's going to be real high-level production value, real an entertaining spectacle, even if the teams involved aren't top-tier teams. I think the broadcast experience is going to be something that's going to be really, really good. I know Face It and Turner are putting in a lot of work, before it. So, yeah, anyway, we'll leave that there, and no doubt we'll revisit that at some point in 2016. Shall we talk about the MLG acquisition then?
Yeah, all right.
Because this is a big story. I don't know why. It seems really strange because it doesn't seem to have been talked about a lot on HLTV, which I'm not even sure if HLTV have reported it yet.
I don't think they have. I don't think there's anything on that. Yeah,
and I don't know. I don't know why that is. I mean, the first thing, like I say, I definitely will tip my hat to the Esports Observer for breaking this story. It's always great when someone else breaks news, you know, like I got a lot of respect for that because I know how hard it can be. And this is a huge story. If they'd waited a few days, this would have been the biggest story of 2016, probably by the end of it. But 2015 was a crazy year. But this is a huge, huge story. I obviously knew that MLG were in talks with people to sell up. They've had lots of venture capital dumped into them to keep them afloat. They have been hemorrhaging cash. I don't think any of that's a secret. I reported that they'd had talks with Yahoo. Yahoo had got up from the table, or MLG got up from the table, depending who you talk to. And they'd been hawking themselves around. Really surprised, though, that Activision Blizzard come in and basically, buy kind of a tournament organizer. And, of course, somebody that has their own broadcasting platform. Big questions about what it means for CSGO. And I got to say, while I've reached out to my sources and asked around and been told it's not going to change anything, I'm certainly a little bit worried for the future beyond the next major.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously don't know anything behind the scenes about what really is going on with all that, but it does seem like even the way it was presented, like, don't worry, this major's totally fine. Like, it does just seem like they just finish out the events they promised, and then that's it. They're out of CSGO. Which is, by the way, it's fine. We still get a great major. We still get all the good stuff we're going to get. Their events have always been excellent, but it does seem like there's no way this continues on. And they, like, unfortunately, they don't become what it looked like they could have been, which is every year they have a major. You know, there's North American major. It does seem like that's probably at this point. Put it this way: if that wasn't the case, you almost certainly wouldn't leave that open as an ambiguous potential thing that people would pick up on. You'd go, that's definitely not the problem, guys. Don't worry, we'll still be here a year from now. The fact that you haven't makes it seem like it's almost certain you're going to like fulfill your obligations, do this right, and then you're out.
I mean, it just seems so unbelievable to me that Activision Blizzard buy MLG, they change it to AB Media or whatever the fuck it's going to be called moving forward, and they run esports tournaments for probably their largest rival overall in the form of Valve. And that is, you know, like, what's that? Activision make fucking Call of Duty? Okay. Definitely going to promote Counterstrike then, when it's evidenced that the Call of Duty community are becoming more and more interested in Counterstrike overall, which is why you're seeing all these big Call of Duty organizations coming in to Counterstrike and having a huge impact. And it's not like they're coming in and all of the fans going, what are you picking up that game for? They're all fucking super interested and super fucking hyped about it. So I can't see the Activision side of things being like, yeah, this is fine. Let's have a totally sick major for our biggest rival in FPS historically. You know, that's not going to stand, surely. And then on the Blizzard front, you've got Overwatch coming out, which that's going to want to tap into some of the Counter-Strike market, no doubt about that. Probably going to want to tap into some of the TF2 market, obviously made by Valve as well. And Blizzard also make Heroes of the Storm, a MOBA. Valve make Dota 2. So I've been told, yeah, nothing's going to change. It's just another way of making money, and it's all good. But there's no way, is there? There's no way you're going to promote a business rival's product by making them look good. There's just no way, right?
The biggest problem here is that it's hard to see both parties could be up for it. Like, let's say somehow Activision Blizzard is crazy enough that they are up for it. Then in that world, are Valve really going to be like, yeah, it's fine for a total rival to literally be doing stuff in our game? It's the idea that both at the same time could be into it. Even if one was, I don't see that the other one would be. So it has to be the end, surely.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. But I mean, that said, I don't think Valve would mind. Honestly, I really don't. I think they've proven that. But it's just a bit weird. There are obvious tensions between the two companies. Let's look at it this way. It wasn't all that long ago that Blizzard and Valve were in a lawsuit over Dota 2, which was settled. Maybe you could, I don't know if there's such a thing as friendly litigation. I don't know. But certainly they are business rivals. And it's very hard to imagine one business rival wanting to do the right thing in terms of broadcasting someone else's product. It would be like, I don't know, if McDonald's came in and bought the right to fucking designing Burger King's burgers. You know, what are they going to do? Well, we call this one the shit sandwich. I hope you like it. Have it your way. It's got shit in it, by the way. Like, obviously, that'd be retarded. You know, Burger King going to go, fuck this. How did we even get in this situation? You know, and McDonald's, even if they went into it with good intentions to begin with, like, oh, look, you know, we can redesign the Whopper. Look, extra bit of lettuce in there, right? You know, take out that tomato. No one eats that anyway, you know. Done you a favor there, right? Even if they started out that way, when their own sales were going down, if Burger King were coming out on top of them all the time, McDonald's are going to fucking turn around and go, let's sabatage their fucking burgers. You haven't thought this
analogy through, Rich, because there is one member of the McDonald's organization who obviously wants to go and get Burger King's burgers, the Hamburglar.
Oh, you're right, actually.
He was there before you all the time, see? What's sad is he's probably not in the commercials anymore, Rich. That's another, like, reference game.
Can't do it. Social,
80s, isn't it?
Mate, social justice warriors took Hamburglar away. You can't glorify crime. Can't. It's okay to have some mad paedophilic clown. So that's fine.
Why not?
That's fine. Why not? Why not, right? But anyway, so yeah, it seems incredibly weird. I thought they sold out a little bit cheap as well. It just goes to show that in the report on the Esports Observer, they were saying they felt the majority of the money was going to go to pay off debt. I mean, $46 million for a majority stake in MLG, the largest esports organization in North America. Does that not seem a little bit cheap to you?
It does, especially when you see some of the other numbers that have been out there for, I mean, then again, the DreamHack number was pretty low along similar, and that was less, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean, these numbers in general aren't that good. I mean, that's what's hilarious. These are the same fuckers who run these companies, the ones who tell us about how we need to do things this way, so it will be sustainable growth and organic growth. Constantly use all these terms that don't apply to any of their companies, and they've all been running at a fucking loss for like 10 years. Like, yeah, brilliant, guys. Tell us more about sustainable growth as you beg people to give you wanton cash injections on the fucking on a wisp of a dream.
Yeah. So what do you think it means overall?
Yeah, don't forget though, when an actual company comes in and says we're a TV station, here's $1 million, you go, well, I don't just want a handout. I want a little backroom deal. It's organic growth. Maybe the organic growth is when they get a fucking chub on because they're going to get some dirty slush fund money. Maybe that's what it's like. It's like being a politician in Westminster. You know, half of it isn't just getting the bribe. It's the seediness of the bribe. You feel like you're in James Bond or something. Ooh, yeah, I'm getting a dirty little backroom deal here. Ooh, I'm a little legend, I am. Now get me some fucking tights and an orange in my mouth. I'll be dead by the morning. Reference game is so on point right now. Politics in Britain from the mid-90s or something.
Tory slays, mate. Tory slays. But yeah, so it's a strange one. I'm a little bit concerned, but again, I've been reassured that it will be business as usual. I can't believe it, but several people that I know in the scene on both sides of this have said, yeah, like actually these are the intentions we've got. Adam Apicella. And obviously MLG declined to comment when I reached out to them for a report I did on Breitbart. Adam Apicella had tweeted saying, I'm trying to catch up on what everyone is talking about. The CSGO major, minor, and offline qualifier are all good to go. Happy New Year's Eve. But then that tweet, of course, was deleted, I'm guessing, because while the deal's still going through, obviously you can't say anything like that in case it's subject to change. And you could have been perceived, I don't know, fucking influence the deal one way or the other or something. But yeah,
it said it's basically the same thing though in a different tweet.
Yeah. So I guess we'll wait and see. It's a shame though, because I did tell people this was happening, that people were going to start buying out kind of like the independents. And I think we're getting closer to that sanitized nightmare that leaves people like me and you sat at home with not a lot to do, which, you know, again, I'm all right with that. I never really enjoyed hosting anyway, and traveling to events is fucking disgusting.
Rich, it was looking so good. I mean, first of all, the major in NA. So then when NA doesn't make the playoffs of that, what excuse are you going to use there? Jet lag. Anyway, by the way, everyone else making the playoffs, loads of jet lag. So major in NA, brilliant. Scheduled right around IEM Katowice time, so they take the major away from Katowice. Could have died laughing. And then, thirdly, they're paying me $6 That's the trifecta right there.
I know that is the Thorin erection trifecta. But yeah, it's I know I said this a year ago. I feel that we're getting all these big media companies coming in, and I don't know what their intentions for esports are. Developers want to control their product, and that isn't a good thing, because when that happens and things aren't organic, you don't get the best out of it. It becomes some stale fucking PR exercise. It's like the difference between a CSGO tour like you had with DreamHack and you know, the majors, and how they're, you know, you hire the talent, whoever's running it, the teams qualify, the interviews are real, and then you watch something like League of Legends where it's like some washed out, scripted, boring, everyone on message. You know, the only thing that can get you even remotely hyped is what happens on the server. Everything else has to be bland, PG-13 bullshit because it's a marketing exercise for their game controlled by the developer who are paying for the privilege of it marketing their game. And there's not going to be room for real personalities if it keeps going.
That's the whole problem, isn't it? Like, it'd be one thing if esports had always been that. If it had been some sort of, you know, children's game that people watched and it was watched by just people who were only casually into it. The analogy here would be here's the reason why I don't rage about channels like the WB existing in America, which is like teen programming, and it's also like this super safe laugh tracks on all the comedy stuff. The reason why that's not a problem is because I never watched that in the first place, so it's not a problem to me that exists. But if you took HBO or Showtime and had them bought out by a bigger company and said, right, we're going to make these even bigger, and then you made it into that, and everyone who liked what HBO and Showtime were before would be like, this is bullshit. That's not why I wanted it. I wanted things to be more real and to be more gritty and to have more of an adult theme about. That was the whole point of what we were into here. And you've bastardized the entire concept to do so. So that's what will happen if they keep going down this road. And step one towards that is getting rid of all the diversity within the tournament organizers. As soon as there is like 2 tournament organizers, well, then all we need is those two to just agree to fuck all the rest of us and we're all done.
As soon as the corporations came in, that was the writing that was on the wall. Unfortunately, it was always gonna be that way. You know, and I'm on the record as having said this multiple times. This was exactly how it was gonna go. You know, you start to see it. You know, the edgy people, the people who are a little bit controversial, maybe don't stick to the message, but can give you box office. Yeah, sometimes they go too far. Sometimes they're a little bit wild. You know, but they want to push them out because it's an unknown quantity. They just want whatever's going to be good to show investors and look at what we've got here. It's not a real thing. That was why I was always kind of hoping that this Turner League would take off, because they'd said in the end, you know, they had plans for ancillary programming where they wanted to do shows like fucking Halftime, where you did have like ex-pros come on and everyone was trash talking each other and it wasn't scripted. It was like literally fucking, you know, it was in your face. They wanted to do like these even animated parodies, you know, of like what happened with the players and stuff and take the piss out of them that way. That they were going to, you know, bring in all this like really cool programming around it. Instead, you know, it's going to be like, I don't know, don't even know what the fucking name of that fucking League of Legends show is that they do, the official Riot one.
Primetime League.
That's it.
The best name you could ever give it, right?
Yeah, Primetime League.
Generic shit ever.
Yeah, where they're just like, heh, so you lost today. Does that make you a loser? It's just like, fuck me, like shoot me in the fucking face. I won't even complain. You know what I mean? It's just, and I've said it for a while. I think all esports is going to go that way, man. I think me and you, we get to sit at home and make YouTube videos about it and write about it. I think on a long enough timescale, we definitely don't get to be involved in any of the broadcasts, not unless someone like, you know, Sirius come in and want to make a fucking edgy radio show like some Howard Stern level shit where you can just go fucking wild about it.
You do realize, Rich, that will trigger you in its own way, because then everyone will be like, I always knew you were a shock jock. You'll be like, I technically am, but I wasn't.
No, but here's the thing, though.
Just because I write for Breitbart now and I am a shock jock doesn't mean I always was. It'll get you, won't it? Get to you.
No. Here's the thing. It actually wouldn't get to me at this point.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. You know, like I spent 10 years like doing fucking real, you know, nose to the grindstone journalism. I recorded a video today where I went back through the whole like year, all the stories, all the high, you know, all the high points, all the low points, my entire year. Took a few hours to record, obviously. Went through it all. And I was just like, man, I broke all these big fucking stories and I still get called a clickbait cunt. You know? I still had to like deal with just like constant shit and being called a liar like repeatedly every time I break the story. Like, honestly, let somebody else do that. I think it's not really worth all the effort and all the stress. In fact, it brings us on nicely to the next story, which is simple, joining Team Liquid. And I mean, it wasn't a big secret anyway. I think the cat was pretty much out the bag, but I got confirmation. And you know what? I said, I don't even want to write this up. I don't even want to publish this. because I just couldn't be asked going through it again with Team Liquid, because they're just such cunts that they would just lie about it again, pretend it wasn't happening again, set the fans on me again. Everyone call me a liar again. They'd probably get Simple to come out and say I was lying again. Just 3-4 days of just getting my shit pushed in. And then they turn around and go, we'd like to announce our new player, Sample. He changed his name, so technically we weren't lying. Fuck you, Richard Lewis. I just couldn't be bothered. I just literally couldn't be bothered. I thought, you know what? Let some other cunt publish that. Seriously. And I just sat back. Do you know what I mean? Just couldn't be fucked. Couldn't be fucked. Because it's never worth the hassle, man. It's never worth the effort. Like, at the end, if it was just, here is a news story from a reliable journalist with years and years and years of proof of being right and being accurate. Here you go, community. He's done it again. You decide quietly amongst yourselves if he's telling the truth or not. If that's how it panned out every time, fair enough. It doesn't, though, does it? It never does. So I just couldn't be asked. I just thought, fuck it. It's not worth the clicks. So that's your clickbait journalist right here. So I'd actually, at this stage in my career, I'd rather be a fucking shock jock. Sit on a radio, talk shit. You don't like it, don't tune in. Can't touch me. You know? That's a much better option, I think, right now. It's less fucking stressful. Don't you agree?
It would definitely. The key thing is it's ideal to be like untouchable. Like, to a degree, essentially the only area that's not the case really for me at the moment is just the events, because obviously at the events, if you say the wrong thing, you could just still get totally fucked over, especially if the event chose to fuck you over. But aside from that, yeah, I mean, the way I've been heading the last couple of years with more YouTube stuff, more independent freelance stuff, yeah, it is getting to the point where that's definitely like a positive in life. Forget the money and all the rest of it and the freedom and blah, blah, blah. Just knowing that in theory you can do what you want and there's not really anyone who can be like, oh, I'm going to fuck you over for no reason now. That is like a massive perk to have, I have to say.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do in 2016, but I've been writing more about political stuff right now and more interested in that really than breaking the latest story about some fucking bumfuck organization that like have signed a player. And do I want a week of abuse for announcing it early? I don't know. I don't even know anymore. It's just not worth my time, is it really? You know, it just seems a farcical cycle to go through every time when you're just trying to do your job. Meanwhile, I get paid the same whether I'm writing about the Swedish migration crisis or writing about what, you know, Team Liquid have picked up some scrub and are going to lie about it repeatedly in public. And meanwhile, the fans are just going to drop to their knees and suck their horse-shaped dicks every time they lie because they're idiots. So,
by the way, here's a great thing about the Simple story is that Simple signed officially for Team Liquid yesterday. Yeah. And he signed for them. So in celebration, even though as far as I know he hasn't gone to America yet, he does a stream. And so he gets great numbers on his stream. So I tune in for an hour or two because people tell me, yeah, you got to watch this. I tune in. He can't even hold it together one day, Rich. He's in the game with pro-level players, calling them idiots, calling them noobs, calling them just going off, raging at them. Mate, he can't even hold it together for one day.
Mate,
what a fuck up is this guy?
Right. So let's do the announcement. Simple's obviously signed for Team Liquid. It wasn't that much of a secret, but obviously Team Liquid get to make their little announcement uninterrupted. Look at us. We always talk about how we pride ourselves on signing professionals, and we've signed someone who has demonstrably scammed multiple people out of knives and real money, as well as being a cheater who is banned until January, and also February, one of the biggest. February. Also, and also one of the biggest rages the scene has ever seen. So we're going to completely surrender all of our core values of an organization and try and frame it in a way that makes it look like we haven't just sold out because we've realized our own team is absolutely shit and we need some Euro god to carry us to anything close to victory. Well done, Team Liquid. Well done. But yeah, he signs. They get to make their announcement. They get the traffic from it. And obviously, it's a huge fucking move. It's a really big move for them. It's a really big move for them. I think Simple is getting obviously a good deal financially and everything else, and a good opportunity. But in terms of the talent he's going to have around him, with maybe the exception of Hiko, I mean, you know, he is now going to be the go-to guy to carry that team, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically, in an ideal world, Nitro's already been getting better and better as the year goes on. He's shown himself to be really good. In an ideal world, if you have Nitro and Simple both playing really well, then you have Hiko doing what Hiko does, win clutch rounds, lurk. You've already got the basis of a pretty good international team right there. And by the way, Adren, this next 6 months of your life, mate, you've earned it. All those checks that you were stealing, guess what? Taxman's coming to collect, motherfucker. Karma.
Yeah, believe it.
Karma police, bitch. Another 90s reference there.
Yeah, I mean,
reference when Radiohead were an independent group, Richard. That's how old my fucking references are.
But like, you're right. I mean, I think first of all, being an in-game leader when Simple's in the team is an interesting experience. But Hiko's played with him before, and Hiko said they have a good understanding and a good rapport, right? That Simple actually respects Hiko, and they have a thing that works, right?
Yeah, I think so. The thing with Hiko is that people have to understand this is exactly what people never got before when they all said he was just a money grubber and he was doing all the moves for money. No, the great thing about Hiko is he actually had like a transformative moment in his life towards the end of 2014 where he really did have what I described that Nip haven't had, that psychedelic moment where you realize, wait a minute, where am I going in my life right now? What's going to happen if I continue down this path? And he realized if I stay in Cloud9, I get the cushy salary, but they're never going to kick these certain players. We're going to have similar problems. We've probably already peaked. And so I have a choice. Do I accept the money now and stay in this awesome org where I've got this huge brand? Or do I go out and try and join the best team I can join? And I told you, we've been through it all before. We tried a bunch of things. A lot of them didn't work out the way they initially seemed. For example, the either power bands. And so he essentially is someone where at this point in time, he doesn't give a fuck if you give the best hugs ever after a loss. He wants people who are going to win Counterstrike games. Yeah. And a lot of these NA players aren't going to win Counterstrike games, but Simple is a fucking fantastic talent. So if we can find a way to put up with his toxicity or with him being a bit of an asshole, but he's going to bang people's heads off and win us games, let's do it. Let's go for it. So I can respect that, actually. Even though it's obviously going to be tenuous as how it's going to work.
I just want to say, though, the idea of GB James trying to coach Simple, please.
I mean, maybe GB James can teach him a bit, turn him into a top AWP like he did Fraud, or maybe teach him a few things about the game.
Right.
Mate.
There wouldn't be a better sitcom than the time they tried to make one about Hitler and Ava Braun living next door to a Jewish couple called Heil Honey, I'm Home. That's actually real. You can watch that on YouTube. I'd love to see a sitcom made of that. Just GB James. First of all, Simple. Like the one good thing Team Liquid are trying to do here is give him English lessons.
Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do. I've always said,
is that the worst thing?
Rich, I've always said, here's Simple's real problem. Are you ready for a bombshell, Rich? He isn't toxic. He's from fucking CIS. I know a load of guys from CIS countries. I know what Na'Vi do. They rage like motherfuckers. Key thing is they rage in Russian, and everything sounds like raging in Russian because a lot of it is, but everything just sounds like raging in Russian. The key thing is Flamey isn't talking in English to people, and Flamey isn't streaming telling you what he thinks about Germans. He's just living his life as a little fucking Russian kid do whatever the fuck he does. So that's the biggest problem was them ever learning English, mate. If he just stuck a Russian, we'd be fine now. I mean, I told you when they had those POV VODs of Na'Vi and they're all calling everyone's mother a fucking whore who they were killing on the other team and like saying, they're going to choke them with their dick or some shit. Like that just never came out because no one understands Russian. All people who understand Russian are like, it is normal. What is it? It's normal. What is wrong?
No one wants to choke with dick.
Exactly. So that's the biggest problem is teaching him English. If I was anything, I'd say just go sit over there, bang everyone's heads off, and then just say stuff in Russian. If they could be the ultimate matchmaking player. Like
surely that's Shroud. To be serious for a moment, though, I think it is actually, like I'm ripping on the Team Liquid organization, obviously, because of how they handle journalists and media interaction.
Oh, one little thing just before we go on, before I forget.
Yeah.
I like to give you little presents every now and then, Rich.
Thanks.
So if GB James believes in Team Liquid as an org so much and what he's building there and what's going to happen in the future, why do I keep having all these owners of teams who come to me and they say, oh, what do you think of GB James? He's asked to be the coach of my new team. He's told me he'll build a coach for my team. He would like to join my org and be a coach. Why do you think he keeps doing that if he really believes in the org he's in? He's loyal to them, he respects them all. That's it. That's the end of that segment.
All right, nice.
Fuck with me. See what happens.
So he's looking to jump ship, is he? Well, that's good.
None of them will take him, so no, he's still.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, exactly. Please.
Remember, Rich, they're coming to me and asking me. So what do you think? What do you think I do? Do you think James might have annoyed me a bit? So I actually tell them the real shit about him and give him that 1 out of 5 stars Yelp rating.
Yeah. Basically, that's what we need. Actually, we need like an esports Yelp.
Your fucking career's here, mate.
That's good, man. I'm glad. Thank you. That is a good. Thank you. You didn't get me any.
Start the year off the right way, Rich.
That'll do. No, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. So, I was saying, also in all seriousness, I think it's decent of the organization to get those lessons for Simple and try and help him acclimatize to life in LA, which I'm sure is going to be a strange time for him, and get that level of communication up in the team, encourage him, to communicate. They did this in League of Legends where they had like 2 translators for Piglet, and, were trying to take him out to like Korean restaurants and stuff when he first got there, like trying to bed him in and make him feel a bit more at home. So they do handle their players pretty well. If they don't,
and they did fix like the example you're giving here. They did fix things with Piglet. He was someone who was quite toxic when he came in. Didn't get along with the other players because his culture clash thing going on, and they did fix that. He became quite a good player. Yeah,
I think that's actually probably a good analogy. It might not mean a lot to some of the people watching the podcast, but obviously go out and read up about it. There was an incident where Piglet tried to kind of flex and show his authority. I'm the star player, so fuck you. And during a champ select phase, he quit, didn't he? Because someone like locked in Urgot. And he thought they were trolling, and obviously Urgot went on to be like one of the best mid laners at that particular patch. But he just left the game, and then they played with a sub. They played with Keith McBrief. As a result, they were like, "Look, we'll use a young up and coming player in your position, and we won't play you at all if you're going to be an asshole and not a team player." And of course, he climbed down off that fucking pedestal. And like you said, when it looked like he was going to leave, he ended up staying. And you're right, they sort of brought him down to fucking planet Earth, So whatever I want to say bad about Team Liquid, with the exception of GB James, of course, they have a very good infrastructure there, and they're very good at handling star players in general, and players with egos. And they've got a proven track record across multiple games of doing that. So maybe Simple's in the right place, Duncan. The real question is, what does this do to them? Best team in NA?
I think it's going to happen, because I look at the other teams and they've got Cloud9 hasn't even told us who the 5th player is. CLG, it looks like they're going to lose one of their players, possibly to Cloud9. So those 2 teams are on the ropes. CLG were already on the ropes anyway. Team Liquid, this is their chance to be the best NA team. Here's the one thing I would spin it though. The reason why it's still a great move to bring Simple in is, one thing you can't say about Simple is that he's a fucking guy who cries like, I'm getting nervous on LAN, and I don't know if I can do that. That's what's great about what an asshole is. The reason he's an asshole is because he's so sure that he's right. And in game, that can be a fantastic quality. That's why some of the biggest winners in the history of sports are ridiculous sociopathic guys like that.
I love it when we have these moments, Duncan, when you're clearly talking about yourself and trying to apply it to another player. He's an asshole because he knows he's right. And some of the best analysts in the game, players in the game. Yeah,
and in the end, guys, I feel like people who are just really fucking good at their jobs, we shouldn't judge the things they say. We should just look at them and go, he's really good. He should have a black check. He should have a free pass or whatever he wants to say about Poland. I mean, Germany on a stream.
It is, right. The thing is, though, obviously, I'm the same as you, dude. Like, I respect fucking Maverick people who, they don't back down and they've got talent, and even though they're doing things that are just ridiculous, and you're like, what the even I'm like with Simple, what the fuck are you doing that for? There is no doubt that there's a swagger to his fucking demeanor, and he isn't gonna have those fucking NA excuses when he goes to a LAN.
Yeah.
He's not going to be intimidated by any player he goes up against. In fact, I reckon he's going to be chomping at the fucking bit to actually go head-to-head with people and fucking bang them out after this, forced hiatus he's had because of the cheating ban. I bet he can't wait to make a statement.
And you look at all the games where he did go ham on teammates, he was still carrying the fuck out of them. So there's a certain type of player. In fact, I think we've mentioned this on the past shows before. One of the reasons supposedly Makalele got removed from NIP is that Get Right didn't really like his energy. He was a bit too hyper. He was a bit too all of Get Right likes people who are chilled out, And if you notice, Makalele was always sat next to Get Right.
Yeah.
So, because obviously in NIP, their idea of strategy is where people fucking sit in the lineup like some sort of voodoo magic or something. That's it. We're good, really advanced
feng
now.
Feng shui.
I know, yeah, feng shui.
Don't invoke the African black arts, mate. Don't do that, mate.
But I will say, at least Simple seems like a guy where if he does get angry or he does get pissed off, he just still plays Mega. So that's a great sign because, like I say, not many of those guys in NA.
Yeah. So overall, is Thorin satisfied with the move? Is it good for Simple? Is it good for Liquid? Is it good for NA? Is it good for EU? Is it good for you?
I think it's good for everyone. I think it's a wicked move. I can't wait. It's one of the only times you'll ever see a player of the skill level of Simple go to an NA team, because normally you'd have mega offers in Europe, but yet the extenuating circumstances mean he doesn't. Therefore, it's a perfect offer for Liquid. I think this is a great move, and it will definitely be exciting to watch.
Yeah, no fucking doubt about it. So we'll do some little roundups. I don't know if anything's leapt out to you, but like I say, obviously it's that time of year, so it has been a bit of a slow kind of news period. Alternate are back. Team Alternate. Crisby's in there. Yep. Stefan's in there.
Yeah, there's a couple that are really early CSGO players, but no one who's jumping off the page like this guy's going to be wicked there. And also, unfortunately, the thing you always have to realize about German orgs is you have to ask, are they actually going to compete in international terms, or just that shitty SL Cup that they have, that they still run forever in Germany, where it's only German teams? So that's the big question to me.
Well, I mean, it was the Killer Fish lineup, right?
Something like that, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Or the majority of it was. I mean, I agree. Yeah, it's sad to see where the German scene is right now. Obviously, they used to have great infrastructure. Don't have any of that at the moment. But look, the alternate name is one that's synonymous with excellence in Counterstrike, and has been for a long, long time. In not just 1.6, but in Counterstrike Source as well. And of course, it was. If I remember rightly, it was Team Alternate that made it to the final against Mouse Sports, Rattlesnake's team, in the last big LAN we had at Copenhagen Games, I think 2012 or whatever it was, in CSS, and everyone accused them of cheating, of course.
Wasn't that just Germans and CS source rich? Wasn't it just tons of cheaters in their scene?
I mean,
I remember at SK.
That was at LAN. I mean, obviously that's at LAN, so.
I had to write up at SK, right, these news posts of how the SK team was doing, right? And there was this fucker called Tornado Tony in this team, right?
Yeah,
and every week I'd have to do a post where there'd be a screenshot of him, and he was banging everyone's head off online.
Yeah.
Then he went to one LAN, shit it completely, and then everyone's like, yeah, he was just cheating. I think even his teammates were like, yeah, he was cheating his tits off. But it was just Germans, mate.
Tornado Tony. He had one good
LAN.
He had one good LAN in Source. I think it was DS Rack 3, I want to say. It was when Team Dynamic and Very Games played in the final, and that was Steel's Dynamic with AZK and Adrian, Pex, and Legend, I think it was. And they went up against the classic Very Games lineup. And they gave him a hell of a game, actually. But the SK Gaming lineup that was there, that was one of the few LANs Tornado Tony made it to, because he missed his plane twice.
It's weird that, isn't it?
Yeah, weird how that happens. In fact, he won one of my I do the alternate awards every year, the Gonzo Awards. He won one of mine for wasted opportunity by missing a flight, and he could have gone to a LAN and been a big star, but he didn't. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I look. The Source scene, everyone was accusing everyone of cheating. The game had so many exploits and bugs in it and stuff. So I don't know about that. But anyway. The German scene was fucking great, and the alternate team was real good. So it's a big name. I'm glad to see them back. It's just a shame that the German scene's in the toilet at the moment. But other than that, really, there hasn't been a great deal of news. As obviously everyone's on their fucking holidays and chilling out. I saw a report that LGD Gaming, the biggest organization in China, they're looking to get a CSGO team.
Yep.
But I mean, we know eventually the Chinese are coming, right? I mean, that's going to happen, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with China is, here's the thing. It will be good because as long as enough money is put into it, there are so many people in China. It doesn't ever have to even be a vaguely relevant game, but they could have enough people to at least be decent. Like they could at least be around like the level of a Conquest. They could have teams at that level. That could really happen. The big thing is though, it'll never be fair to compare the Chinese because it'd be more like what happens in Dota 2 right now with the Koreans, where they have a team that's all right and they had a second team that was vaguely all right, but Dota 2 will never be the biggest game in Korea. So it'll never be the same as like if they're into League of Legends, then obviously the Koreans will take over the whole scene. Likewise, unless the Chinese really embrace CSGO, which doesn't look like it's going to happen right now, we are quite a few years into it. I doubt they'll ever really be what they could be, which is, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I've said this many times before. If China and Korea, if the number one game in those countries was CSGO, they would have top 5 teams in the world. Like there's no doubt in my mind. It will just happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if we can get it embedded in there. And we're starting to have tournaments in there, and who knows? You know, they've got such a big fucking population pool to draw from for starters. You'd imagine there must be some good players out there that are going to create some good teams. I'm super excited. You know, like last time we talked about this on the fucking podcast, there was some Chinese team playing at like ESWC, and I got all excited about it. And you were like, Rich, you're a fucking idiot. But I am looking forward to seeing them, you know, kind of have an impact if that's possible. Now, I just realized I nearly missed the biggest story. The biggest fucking story of the week.
All right, what's that?
Device. Obviously
hell.
changing his name to Devve. Not going to be Device anymore. He did a tweet longer about it. He said, as of today, I'm changing my nick to Devve. The change comes as a natural one to me, having been called Devve by both friends and team members since I was 14 years old. The first time you will see me with a new name in-game will be at SLTV in Minsk later this month. As a consequence of the nick change, my new Twitter alias will be at DevveCS. So
it's just nonsense, isn't it? I mean, they've been calling me it since I was 14. How old are you now, mate? Maybe change your name 14, 15. Just leaving it at 16 is probably leaving it a bit of a long time, isn't it? Don't wait like 4 years or something until you're actually a world-class player and you've branded that and everything.
I mean, I
well,
don't
even his Devve Device is a pretty cool name.
I liked it as well. Yeah,
plus, you make, like I've always said with nicknames, you make them cool by how good you are as a player. So I think Device, I think a wicked player.
Let's be real. Let's be real. Get Right is a shit nickname.
Yeah. And the way it's capitalized is utterly idiotic. But now it looks sick.
Yeah, and everyone does it right. Get right or die trying. Everyone loves it, right? Get rich.
But that's the thing, Rich. Device was a cool name anyway. But
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Like, why are you calling yourself something your fucking aunt calls you when you go and sit on her knee and get your Christmas present? Little Devve, come here. Here's your socks, Devve. Grandma, I'm getting a bit old. Can't you call me Device? No, but it's be Devve to me.
It's look, the thing is though, like on a serious note, why change your branding? Like if you just decided now that you were, I don't know, not going to be called Thorin. Incidentally, if you weren't, what would you be called?
If I changed my alias,
because I got to say as
actually,
well.
I think I already said this. I think I said it on another show. I would, because I would purposely pick a name to fit my persona now, and so the name I would pick would all be capital letters, and instead of vowels, I'd have numbers, and it would be Get Triggered, all one word. I came up with that on the show. It's good, right?
Yeah,
because everything about it triggers people. It just makes them pissed, you know.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Like again, I don't want you to. Like, obviously, you know, I used to be called Gonzo, right? That's Dr. Gonzo. That's a bit cringe, I suppose, if we're being honest about it. But you know, you're called Thorin because of Thorin Oak and Shield, and your surname is Shields, right? That's
pretty good, right?
When did you come up with it? How old were you?
It was fairly late on. I think I was probably about 16 or 17. So I'd already been playing games a few years at that time.
Just saying, you know, it kind of Hobbit references. It's, I don't know. That's all I want to say about it. I mean,
wasn't a lot of book readers in the UK scene back then, Rich. I was saying.
Yeah, true. Like people obviously couldn't put it together. Like, what the fuck's a Thorin? It's cool. But I used to know this sick Source player like back in early Source called Mithril. That was a cool name. I think there was a 1 in it, like, which made it less cool. But yeah, if you're gonna do references to fucking The Hobbit, that would have been better. Just saying, just putting it out there. But yeah, so Devve is his new name. I'm
name, isn't it? I mean, I like him, but it's a shit name.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a thumbs down. I'd love it if you made a fucking follow-up tweet now. Like, actually, on reflection, after watching By the Numbers, I have realised that the name that my aunt recommended with my socks. Why was his aunt so old in your metaphor, but like analogy, by the way?
Because she's from
why you sat on your hand slap?
From the Nordic region, and I think in the Nordic region they're all old as fuck. I've noticed all their like parents and stuff. Don't know why. Maybe because they live so much of their life in that barren, stale, sterile environment, and then eventually they're like, "There's nothing in my life. I will have a child, then I die." Just like eventually they have the children when they're like 45 or something,
The only good thing to come out of this nickname change, Mo had his like funniest moment. Like, obviously
that joke off me, by the way, but okay.
Did he?
Well, I think he didn't. It's just an obvious joke to make. But actually, a few hours earlier, I said the same thing. I said that someone should just fuck with Device and take the name Device now. I said Pimp should do it because that would be the ultimate way to trigger Device. Like, I am called Device now.
Yeah, but hang on. Pimp's got a fucking way better name than Device.
He's got a terrible nickname. He has a 1 in it as well.
What
he has a 1 in it. Also, remember what he used to look like? He was the opposite of a pimp.
That's the joke. That's the joke. Can you imagine getting wrecked?
The walls of pussy. He was on the way out of one, and the doctor slapped him on his ass and said, "It's a boy."
Can you even fucking begin to realize how triggering it would be? You're getting wrecked. Someone's dropping 40 every time you peek a corner. Someone's banging your head off. He's called Pimp. You're like, who the fuck is this cunt? He's got to be cheating. This fucker calling himself Pimp as well. I bet he thinks he's shit hot. And then you just see a picture of him with his specs on, pulling his mad Harry Potter fucking face. Get wrecked. Get fucking wrecked. Being called Pimp is the best thing ever. Fuck being called Device. I'd be called Pimp any fucking day of the week, man. Like, think how many people have like just stopped playing Counterstrike because they got wrecked by like Jacob. Think about that.
I will say though, this will actually prove my point about how you make names cool, which is that in a year from now, if he keeps the name Devve, it'll probably seem like actually like a not that bad a name, just because he'll have wrecked so many people with it.
Yeah, true. Well, anyway, look, I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, Mo had his moment, said, "I will now be known as Device," which I thought was quite good for Mo because usually he's just screaming and smashing his keyboard on the table. Maybe,
Rich, I had a long con involved, which is as soon as Pimp did take the name Device, I take the name Pimp with a 1.
There you go. It's an upgrade from Thorin. You know it's an upgrade from Thorin. If you were called Pimp,
with a 1.
Yeah. Doesn't have to have a 1 in it. No one said that. I'm sure if Pimp took Thorin, he'd put a 1 in Thorin. You know?
Probably would.
So anyway, I think we'll kill the show there, and we'll go back to getting prepared for our respective journeys. Do you have any final thoughts, Duncan?
I mean, wherever we're going, Rich, I know you wouldn't accidentally announce it when it hasn't been officially announced by whoever would want to announce it. So, yeah, journeys wherever. It might just be Journey to the Pantry. Oh, that's a different show. Or maybe just Journey through the past. Journey through life towards death. Yeah, Esports Pantry. That's the first show I'm going to have Broken Shard on, actually. Esports Pantry.
Esports Pantry.
And in it, we talk about comfort eating when you get kicked from your 17th team. So anyway, that's the end of the show. Thanks to everyone. Alphadraft and all that.
Yeah. Hang on. Yeah, better do the Alphadraft plugs. So yeah, wherever we may be journeying to, we will be doing it with Alphadraft very much in our minds and in our hearts, like the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Alphadraft. I don't know where I'm going. This don't help me the fuck out. Alphadraft. Obviously, you can go there. You can go to their website. I'm sure the church has a website these days, but you can go to the Alphadraft one and you can create an account and you can play fancy esports betting, which in most of the states of America is still deemed A-OK. Pray for Skrilla. That tweet was fucking brilliant, by the way.
It's good, right?
Yeah, it was good. Anyway, what you do is you create an account. There's like all these different tournaments that you can do. You pick players that are playing in those tournaments. And if your team's absolutely sick, you make 6 Skrilla. It's dead simple. You can play for free. And sometimes if you want, if you're feeling flush, you can put some money in it and you can win big bucks. So we recommend you check it out. And of course, the important reason why you have to do this is that Alphadraft do not interfere with by the numbers. We've worked for a lot of broadcasters, a lot of people that we do content for, and they want to stick their fingers in the gumbo. Alphadraft definitely don't do that. So please show them some support and love so we can keep doing by the numbers the way you like it, the way we like it, the way everyone likes it, except GB James. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot to you, Duncan. Thanks a lot to Sam. And thanks a lot to all of the people in Twitch chat. We'll see you next week. And until then, may all your drafts be alpha. Peace.